Hey, Bunker Labs, how are you guys? We are here for an all-in interview. I am so grateful that Greg Maddox is here from Cultivate Advisors. Welcome, Greg.
Oh, thank you. I'm excited to be here.
So many of you in our Chicago chapter might know Greg because he is also in Chicago, but he is here to share with our entire community today a little bit about his experience in being an entrepreneur and what we can keep, stop, and start doing in the midst of external crisis. So Greg, if you could just give us an introduction to Cultivate Advisors, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Sure. Yeah, so Cultivate Advisors, we planted our flag firmly in the small business world. There's lots of places that want to help kind of those mid-sized companies and larger private companies, but we are focused on helping the small companies, helping them grow. We do one-on-one advising where we partner up without equity with the owners of the firm and basically help them do whatever they need to do to build that company, hit their goals. So that's in all the different hats you can think about a business owner has to wear, from marketing and sales and recruiting and leadership and all that stuff. And we help them build out the system, the tools, develop the people so that they can build that business around them faster to get to the point where A, it's more valuable, B, it's providing more income, C, more time for them. So they're able to hit their goals in all those areas. And we've been at it for about 5 years. We eat our own cooking. We are a small and fast-growing business ourselves. We made number 280 on the Inc. 5000 last year, so we're super excited about that. And we're just partnering with small business owners to figure out, in this current environment, how can we help you keep your eye on the prize and not get kind of paralyzed by fear of what's going on. We got to be real about what's happening in the world, but as entrepreneurs, especially, and I'm a veteran as well, so as veterans who are entrepreneurs, I feel like we're doubly equipped to figure out ways to kind of improvise, adapt, and overcome. And I can share a cool story, maybe before this is over, with another bunker entrepreneur who I had a conversation with last week. That we did just that. He had to totally pivot his business, but we were able to figure it out pretty quickly, because sometimes you're so close to it when it's your business that just taking some time to spend an hour or so via Zoom like this with somebody to give you a fresh perspective, and somebody who's got the background and skill set to give you a new framework that you can then run with. And he was able to do that, which is super cool.
Absolutely. And I love those points of building people, and, you mentioned cash flow and things like that. So can you tell us, and as a veteran yourself, can you tell us just quickly on how you came to entrepreneurship yourself and why that was the path that you chose?
Yeah. So as much as I enjoyed my time in the military, one of the largest, I was in the Army, 101st Airborne Division. It's one of the largest bureaucracies. I found that when I dipped my toe after college into corporate America, that I felt suffocated. I really did. And one of the things that I did during college it was an internship program, but my first business, I built up a direct sales company with a bunch of college kids, where we went out and, I recruited them, I trained them, and then we went out into the world in our summers and we sold encyclopedias door to door, believe it or not. And in 90 days, we did $250,000 of sales. And so I got kind of, bit by the bug at that point in time of being in control of my own destiny and being able to leverage your own creativity into kind of forging that path. And then I went a little bit in corporate America, and that was horrible. And so then I ended up getting into the financial world, in the mortgage business. I ended up owning a mortgage company. And then I started a consulting firm in parallel to the mortgage company. This was back in the early 2000s. And if people remember the 2003 to 5, mortgages were going through the roof. And then we had the housing bubble burst. And then 8, 9, we had the financial services bubble burst. And so I was in both of those kind of simultaneously. And ended up letting the mortgage company go at that time because my consulting business, doing what's called advanced planning, we did a lot of asset protection, tax reduction, wealth transfer, exit planning, that kind of stuff for business owners. and we were getting a lot of traction on that. And so for the past 14 years before I joined Cultivate Advisors, that's what I was doing. And if you think about what exit planning really is, it's just good business strategy. If you're trying to sell a business, I have clients that we're helping them do that right now. The things you need to do to get someone to write you a check at some point for your business in the future is just all the same stuff you need to be doing right now to build and grow a good business. So whether you call it exit planning or you call it good business strategy really just depends like where you are mentally in your journey, right? It's the same stuff. And obviously there's a few extra things when you get to the transaction. And so that's kind of how I got to it. And I loved the work that I was doing as a consultant in the exit planning, advanced planning world. But I had a lot of great people who were never going to be my employees. So I was not building something that was bigger than me. And then when I got introduced to Cultivate, it was by one of my best friends in college who happens to be a client. And he's like, these guys are doing some cool stuff. I think you would love it. Why don't you reach out to them? And I did. And so I'm into my second year now. And yeah, just a great, great group of people. We're building something that we think is very special. We are entrepreneurs, and the fact that every day we get to work with entrepreneurs and help them problem solve and give them access to resources, and the fact that even though I have my own personal clients, they have access to all of our staff that we can bring in with various backgrounds and expertise, it leads to just some awesome results for our clients, especially in times like this when we have to get creative and problem solve. So that's how I got to where I am today.
Absolutely. And I love your story about selling encyclopedias door to door because it seems that so many entrepreneurs start with, either mowing lawns or selling lemonade or selling encyclopedias. So I love that story. There's different pathways, but when you catch the bug, it's hard to let it go. So particularly good transition into this, Greg. So what should entrepreneurs keep doing right now in their businesses?
Yeah. So with the caveat that we all have to be real about what's going on in the world, and you have to do what's necessary to keep yourself, your family, and your community safe health-wise. I see so much stuff on social media right now, so I'm so excited about what you guys are doing, such like the give and get threads and all this stuff, is that people are getting mired into negativity. And so I think we need to keep driving towards our bigger future. The fact that we have this issue going on right now with the virus, and yes, it will change the way that we have to do business. For some of us, it's going to change it for a period of time. For some of us, it might totally pivot how you guys do business. But this too will pass. And we need to be ready to capitalize on all the pent-up demand and the new opportunities when it does. And so, yeah, you're going to need to play some defense. You're going to need to put some contingency planning in along the way. But the faster you can do that, and we do a lot of that with our clients, let's redo our cash flow planning so we're realistic about kind of likely versus worst case scenarios. Let's give ourselves some bumpers. It's not about that those numbers are exact. It's just now we can pivot our brain into creative problem solving about we still got this destination we're trying to get to, about why we're building this business. That doesn't change because this virus landed in our lap. So as entrepreneurs, I think that we are, as I said earlier, and as veterans, we're doubly kind of ready to figure out ways to improvise, adapt, and overcome. So keep moving forward. Don't lose eye on your bigger mission, whatever that vision is about why you're building this business and where you want to take it. This is just an obstacle. We got to figure out how to get through.
Absolutely. I love that. And I love the visual, especially tying back to the military. So this might be an opportunity also to stop things that aren't beneficial to your business. So what are your thoughts on that of entrepreneurs, what they should stop doing?
Yeah, so there's lots of advice out there on like tactical things like stop paying bills that are unnecessary, et cetera. You don't need, that's obvious. I'd say on a bigger picture, stop feeling paralyzed by emotion or fear if that's where you are right now. It's okay if that's where you are, but make a decision to stop living in that space. You as veterans, we all as veterans, we faced big challenges in the past. Many of you have probably been in a war zone. And so I would just tell you, bring out your inner warrior right now and attack those business challenges head on. Don't stick your head in the sand and hope that they're just going to go away or work themselves out. You have got all the capabilities you need to work through this. If you need some help, companies like mine, we're giving free 1 and 2 hour blocks to any small business owner out there who wants an outside perspective. So reach out to us, or find a mentor, or find somebody who's going to give you an outside perspective, because sometimes you're stuck just because you're so close to it, and you're in the weeds, and it's tough to see the forest from the trees. And having somebody who can just come in, quickly learn about what's going on in your world and where you're trying to go, they can give you a fresh perspective. And so I had a conversation last week with a veteran and residence alum, Aaron Wolf, who owns a company that does, he takes groups of people out into the wilderness and does team building and a little bit of survival training, but it's really more about the experience of being in nature, being disconnected, and then whoever you go out there with. Sometimes it's corporate groups, sometimes it's friends and family, sometimes it's sports groups, of getting connected and figuring out, problem solving. And so when we talked last week, he was like, man, like, I was teed up for 2020 to be awesome. And then this happened. I had all these trips got canceled. I'm sitting on like zero cash flow from what I was anticipating. I'm not sure what to do. And then the more we talked about what he actually does when he goes out on these, it's not all about survival training or being in the wilderness, that there's these activities that he's developed over his time of how he gets his people who are on these trips with them to interact and do different types of exercises that are really cool and interesting team building. And we mapped out a way that he could take some of those and get them done online, and even tap into the fact that we've got, the stay-at-home orders. We have families that are going stir crazy. There's only so much binge watching of TV, that you can do. And what he has put together is something that would be awesome for groups of families to get online and do, that he's figured out a way to do it inside their house, utilizing the stuff that's inside their house to do it. And so 2 days after we had that conversation, which was tail end of last week, he was already beta testing this with a group of friends, and he's going to be launching it very quickly. So don't feel stuck that there are, or if you feel stuck, don't feel that there aren't any opportunities for you to pivot. There always are. You just might need to reach out for some help to see them.
Absolutely. And thank you also for sharing that story. I think that that's helpful just for us to rethink and put things into practice. And I will say too, Greg has been, and Cultivate Advisors, grateful to them that they are also providing so many resources, which we will be dropping links below. So make sure to check those out, like those free sessions that he talked about, but also resources like the webinars and the education opportunities that they're putting together, like their cash flow management, which they pivoted that webinar to really focus on the times. So we will be sharing all of those resources that Greg and Cultivate Advisors has provided us. And, Greg, we talked about new opportunities and how this, crisis management and external chaos really allows for new opportunities, specifically for entrepreneurs and specifically for military connected entrepreneurs. So what is this great opportunity to start doing for our community of entrepreneurs?
So, being an entrepreneur and having worked with, as our company, over 1,000 entrepreneurs, what we know that if there's one thing that kind of is a common thread across the vast majority, is that most entrepreneurs don't own their finances. All right. I hate to kind of throw that out there, but what you need to start doing, especially now, is owning those numbers. You need to know them. You don't need to become an accountant. You don't need to become a finance expert. We put together, and the link should be down there below this, on how to do that, how to own your cash flow. But you're going to need to have a plan to deal with a variety of cash flow scenarios. The faster you can get clear about what that is, or you're honest about kind of what is the best case, given the current scenario, what is the best case right now that we think, and then what are maybe some worst case one or zombie apocalypse cases, if you put together scenarios. What I found in working through clients with this is that 9 times out of 10, when we do that and we look at the impact, if this happens to their revenue, what happens to their cash, how long can things last, that things aren't as bad as they thought. They look and say, you know what, I can actually make it through. So by sticking our heads in the sand and not really addressing this, we are delaying our ability to figure out ways to pivot right now. And we're also missing out on getting in a clear headspace. So I'd say start owning your numbers. If you don't know how to do it, reach out to somebody through the bunker community, through our community, that can help you quickly put together those cash flow scenarios so that you can get to the point of going, okay, here's my reality. It's likely to look like this. It could look like that. And now inside of those two bumpers, what can I do today to start getting cash? Am I going faster after, people who owe me money, knowing that everybody's going to slow down? Can I get creative on packaging up future services at a discount so that people will pay you today for some services later? If you have clients who know you and love you, they want to help. You'd be surprised when you just reach out to them and give them options, what they're willing to do. Or do we have to pivot totally and figure out a new way to deliver your services because we can't get physically together anymore? Or is it a whole new service offering like Aaron? It's related to what he was doing, but it was different. And so I think that those opportunities are there. So start putting yourself in a position to be able to figure that out. And it starts with owning your numbers, hands down. Biggest thing you need to do as an entrepreneur.
That's great advice. Well, Greg, thank you so much for lending your expertise, your experience, and thank you, for your service as a veteran, and also for
thank you.
enlightening us a bit on how to get through these adverse times. And again, please check out the links below so that you can make sure to check out all the resources that Cultivate Advisors and Greg are providing for our community.